there, this is Pat Ennis of Ennis Legacy Partners. Welcome to the Exit Readiness Podcast. I'm here with Joe Markovich. Our mission here on the podcast is to provide you, the business owner, with subject matter expertise on topics pertaining to building transferable or sellable business value, and then for planning your eventual exit from the business. We want to help you build a business that can be transferred, and then we want to help you realize a successful exit. Today's episode is another in our Exit Readiness Next ACT series. It's a series dedicated to helping owners plan for life after the business, after the transaction. As a successful owner, you have realized in being a successful owner, purpose, meaning, fulfillment, in serving many people, many stakeholders, your employees, your customers, your vendors, your suppliers, the community, the economy. It's a long list. And so you've made a significant difference in many lives. Once you exit, once you leave, that purpose and meaning that you experience as a business owner is gone unless you plan to replace it in some other way. Maybe it's buying some owners exit one business and buy another one for those reasons. But most of the owners that we're working with are baby boomers who are planning to, no, I'm not going to buy another business. I'm not going to build, I'm going to do something else. Well, that's, we want to help you with that. We want to help you think through life after the business. 75% of business owners are not happy within 1 year of exiting their business, according to surveys done by PwC and the Exit Planning Institute. And the reason is they haven't planned for life after the business in the sense of replacing that purpose, meaning, and significance that they experienced. And so with this episode, like others like it, we want to help you do what we can to help you plan now so that statistic doesn't happen to you. And so today, again, we're going to talk about life after the business. Our guest is David Young. David is the founder and owner of David K. Consulting, LLC. He brings a depth of experience, more than 5 decades of business leadership, and over 40 years dedicated to employee benefits and retirement planning. As the founder and managing member of David K. Young Consulting since 1992, by the way, he's guided organizations and individuals through complex benefit and planning decisions with clarity and practicality. He holds a BA from McMurray University, MPA from Angelo State University. He's a certified employee benefits specialist through the Wharton School. His industry involvement includes leadership and advisory roles with the Spark Institute and Transamerica, while his personal commitments reflect a strong service ethic through the Civil Air Patrol leadership and humanitarian aviation efforts supporting veterans in nonprofit missions. And I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about that today. So, David, we're excited to have you with us today. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hey, David. Nice to see you again. Nice to speak with you again. I was talking to Pat, and I was mentioning to him that, while you haven't completely transitioned out of your business, I think what actually was valuable for us to have you on and share was that, you had the foresight or the insight, or whatever you want to call it, to think about what life was going to be for you after the business, what was important, but actually started to work on that. And many owners believe like life after the business will feel like, Shangri-La with more freedom and more time and fewer responsibilities. Yet we know after exiting, like Pat mentioned, many of them struggle with something they didn't expect, which is that loss of purpose, identity, connection. What interests me about your story is that you began planning your next act actually before leaving your business. So let me start here by saying what prompted you to begin thinking about life after business earlier than most owners do?
Well, the fact that I've been very involved with the humanitarian efforts to help feed the poor along the Texas-Mexico border, we help about 30,000 plus people with food and medicine and clothing. We've expanded that now into Ethiopia, Kenya, and India. So my involvement with that was always a future that I wanted to pursue beyond just owning a business. People used to ask me, I get requests to buy my firm almost on a weekly basis. Somebody's wanting to buy me and have for over a decade now. And I had a gentleman up in New Jersey approach me back in 2018 about my shop that I had up in Detroit, which was a defined benefit pension administration firm with an actuary and all the things that go along with defined benefit administration. And I told him initially I did not have any desire to sell. And then he just kept pursuing me, and I sold the defined benefit. He wanted to buy my whole TPA, and I did not really want to sell at that time. And he pursued it. I sold him the DB shop in Detroit. He stayed after me for another 2 years, and I ended up selling my defined contribution. As most people know, the term 401k book of business. So it was profit sharing mixed in with that, cash balance administration, complex uh, retirement planning, and it was administered here in San Antonio. And he wanted to keep the office in San Antonio and have me and some of my team continue to oversee the book of business here in Texas primarily. We had other clients around the country, but most of the business here in Texas. He did not want to have anything to do with nonprofit or school district governmental type administration, which is called 403B administration. So I kept that portion of my retirement plan administration here and sold in 2020. The intent was to partner and develop the firm beyond just the business I had here in Texas. But as you know, in 2020, we were in the midst of COVID. It really damaged our, our planning for that purpose. I had bought his health and welfare book of business, which was rather small, but I had bought that because the other side of my firm is doing Section 125, HRA, HSA administration, COBRA administration, and another big portion of that book was also with school districts, which has been a major portion of my revenue and continues to be. We still maintain that partnership. If you look at my signature block on my emails, you'll see MPPA, or down at the very bottom, which is the New Jersey office, and they're quite large. They have probably 14, 15,000 clients, and they have under management in their book of business over 15 billion, that's billion with a B, in assets. So they're quite large, and they're one of the major players with Transamerica. And so I have continued to partner with them and maintain the book of business I have now. I do have a gentleman who wants to buy 49% of my firm. He doesn't want to be a majority owner. I would maintain 51%. So that's where I'm headed right now if he decides he wants to buy. He's very eager to buy it. He's going through the evaluation process. I had already done evaluation and determined what the value of the business was. It was a quick and dirty valuation, but it came out reasonably well because it's easy to value a third party administration firm because it's usually based off a multiple of revenue. That's where I am right now today, is that I probably will not exit out of the business totally for another 3 years because he wants me to maintain my role with the book of clients that I have, as he brings in more clients, he has no knowledge or understanding of the third party administration business. In my elevator speech for the people who may be watching, what is a TPA or what is a third party administrator? It's like being a CPA and an attorney rolled up in one, but we're neither. We work for CPA firms and law firms as well as direct business with clients. So, anyway, that's where I am today. He wants to build the business up. He has quite a bit of business to bring. He thinks he can increase the value of my firm by $2 to $3 million in 2 to 3 years, and then he wants to flip it, and I'm willing to do that. I've
So,
already
so
told him.
this is all going to happen likely in the next 3 years, that you're going to be out of business. And I'm wondering, so how much time are you spending in the business now?
I still spend 40 hours a week probably. Yeah.
So you're pretty much full time. Okay. So what happens? I know you've kind of dipped your foot and you've been involved in other non-business related things. So with a social purpose behind it for a number of years. What are you going to do when you've got another 40 hours on your?
I could make the ministry business that I have, or the nonprofit work that I do, full time if I wanted to. My team actually here helps support that ministry, or what's called Skycross, um, for me, as well as my own direct involvement. There's 2 other people here that spend quite a bit of time with that, and I don't charge that back to the ministry. It's totally voluntary. There's no overhead for that ministry. It's 100% of the donations go to feed the poor.
Okay. Okay. So that's a big mission for you. What prompted that mission? Like, where did there's so many social causes out there with good good reason to support. Why this particular mission?
Well, you mentioned, or Pat mentioned earlier, that I have worked with the Civil Air Patrol. I was commander of the Bexar County Senior Squadron here in San Antonio. Bexar County is the county that San Antonio is in. That's the reason why I was named Bexar County Senior Squadron, and it's a squadron of pilots. There are other squadrons made up of cadets and so forth in the Civil Air Patrol, but they had uh, set up the Bexar County Senior Squadron to put all the pilots in, and I had met Terry Bleakey, who was the founder of Skycross back in 1998. He actually started working with Skycross as a retired bird colonel out of the Air Force. And I had a lot of men in the Civil Air Patrol who had been previous pilots in the Air Force. I had one colonel that was a B-17 pilot and had thousands and thousands of hours. There was another colonel that flew quite a bit with me that he was the ops director for the raid on Gaddafi. F-111s that had to fly around France to be able to get to that raid that they made on Gaddafi. And when it was an all-night mission, and when he arrived back home, his wife met him at the door and asked him, "Did you see the news?" And he says, "I was the news," because it was a very quiet mission. But I flew with men like that, and that's how I got to know Terry. And Terry and I flew many, many missions together because we did counter drug uh, work along the border. That was back in the day when they didn't have the balloons that they have now that monitor traffic coming over the border. They didn't have drones and so forth. It was the Civil Air Patrol. We would fly missions up and down the Rio Grande River. I've flown the entire length of the river multiple times, and we fly between 500 and 1,000 feet off the ground looking for drug activity. And we would report that to U.S. Customs and the DEA, and we wouldn't interact with them because of the Posse Comitatus Act. We were considered military, a part of the Department of Defense, and so we couldn't interact with the people, but we would note on the GPS coordinates, give it to U.S. Customs, and what they were looking for was trends. and they would begin to see the trends where the drugs were crossing over the border. And they claimed back in the late 90s, early 2000s that civil air patrol helped uh, bring justice to the criminals coming over the border more so than anything else that was being done. I went from being commander of the Civil Air Patrol to director of counter drug activities and Homeland Security in South Texas. So anyway, that's a long, wild story to tell you. That's how I got involved with Terry, and Terry got me involved with the Ministry of Skycross.
Right. Okay. So are you still flying? Are you still doing some of that?
Yes, I still have my airplane. I have a Piper Malibu Mirage, which is a excellent cross country plane, but it's very expensive to operate it.
Hmm.
And I've got it up for sale now. And
Okay.
some people are interested in buying it. I've owned airplanes now for 22 years, or
Hmm.
almost 25 years. And I just have decided that I want to get out of the airplane business. I want
Right.
to start renting.
Many owners think that they're going to fill their time with activities like golf or travel or whatever, fishing, hunting, or things like that. Um, uh, what advice would you give them around that as you kind of think about your own purpose and future after the business?
I think, at least for myself, I need something that goes beyond just me and spending time just for myself. I love camping. I've got a RV trailer that I love to go camping in. And I've thought about, well, I'll just go camping after I'm completely free of the business and spend weeks out camping, maybe go become what they call a full timer. But I've been out camping for, a couple of weeks at a time. And I realized that there's a point in time where I just become bored with it. My wife works with me. She works for me here in the company. And she says, David, you would, within a couple, 3 weeks, would be climbing the walls if you didn't have a job to go to. And she knows me very well. As I was telling Pat, we've been married for 53 years. And so she knows that I need to have something going on, even when I'm out on vacation or camping or whatever. I am still thinking about work, and I will still take phone calls when I need to take a phone call, or if the office has a question. I'm always available, and I've got Starlink with my uh, RV trailer for that purpose, and it works great. I can log on it's like I'm sitting right here at my desk because I leave my computer on and I can log on to my computer, and I don't have to sit here at my desk. In fact, I had another ministry I was involved with down in Peru, a K through 12 school. I was on the board of that school, and I would spend as much as 2 weeks down there, and I conducted business while I was in Peru. As long as I've got the internet, I'm good. So to answer your question, I think that staying involved. So some businessmen, they have a shop, they have to walk away from the shop. They can't continue doing their business like I can. But I can continue to do my business simply because of the type of business that I run. And I love doing consulting work. I have, clients that have asked me to help them figure out employee benefits, look at a health plan or whatever. And I can do that sitting in my camper at Yellowstone.
Wow. That creates a lot of flexibility. I think. Do you think that's one of the important things that helps you kind of stay engaged in what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely. Being able to do that, that also gives me peace of mind that I can continue to do what I do, even if I sell this firm. My expertise and people needing my uh, understanding of the employee benefit world and experience, I can continue to do work, on an ad hoc basis. I don't have to have this firm.
Right. So what is it about? Because often we ask owners like they say, well, my business really defines who I am, and it's an expression of my sense of purpose and identity. What do you think is at the core of what you do? Why is that that this particular work that you do is has so much meaning and purpose for you?
Well, I love what I do, and, and I can be sitting in front of the managing partner of a law firm in the morning and sitting across the desk from a blue collar worker that afternoon. The exposure I have to the variety of people I talk to makes my job very interesting. And so, therefore, uh, I can stay engaged with that as long as my mind works because I love what I do.
Hey, Joe, can I ask a follow-up question? Uh, David, you mentioned something almost in passing a few minutes ago that I wonder if is a very key point to draw out. You said, I need something beyond myself. Um, can you talk more about that? What do you mean by that?
I don't know if you read my email and the response I got from the missionary over in Ethiopia, but he um, he loves to write epistles, and one of the things he always likes to say to because Cindy and I both are involved with that ministry, and he loves Cindy, but he also commends me for the work that I do because it helps people that have no hope. And that's what I say when I go beyond myself. I want to help people that are really in need. And I have been in the colonias on the other side of the border many times over the years. I've seen them cooking fish heads for a meal. I've seen them with dirt floors in their shacks, no water, no running water, no electricity. I mean, they are the poorest of the poor. Some of them actually, when they came up to the border in a dump there south of McAllen, Texas, in the town of Matamoros, they actually would dig holes in the garbage dump of the city, put tin over it, and that's where they lived. So when I work with people in that state of life, I and help them, that's going beyond myself. I'm taking a portion of myself and helping those people. And I think that's important to have value in your life. So many people get wrapped up in their own self, in their business, or in whatever they own and possess, and they forget that there's a role that goes beyond just them and maybe their family.
Yeah, that's good. So you have, while you're still an owner, um, uh, created, well, got involved with, committed to other interests outside of the business, and you've committed time, resources to it. Um, and and so if you do, or when you do, you will at some point. Um, you you will you've got this to go to, which has the same, maybe even more so, purpose, meaning, significance, and serving other people as you've experienced as a business owner, serving your clients and employees and so on and so forth. Uh, a lot of the business owners that we serve and come in contact with, helping them to plan their exit and their transaction, they haven't done that. What you've done, their whole life has been in the business. Really, their family, perhaps, hopefully, but also just poured themselves into it, and so they haven't. A lot of them, many of them, haven't done what you've done along the way while you're still an owner. How did you? Well, I guess you've already told us the story. But was it an interest in airplanes first, or was it an interest in ministry first, or both at the same time that started to draw you more and more toward that, so that you did invest time and resources?
It really was interest in both. When I was in a meeting for the Civil Air Patrol, when we were having a squadron meeting, we'd meet every other week and do mission planning and training and that type of thing. And but one of those meetings, Terry Bleakhay, the founder of Skycross, brought up that he was working on developing that ministry. That was in probably 1995, 96, before I became heavily involved with it, and it perked my ears because as a young man in my 20s, I had learned to fly. I wanted to fly. Uh, I had aspirations of maybe being professional in flying. I'd actually talked to a naval recruiter about going into the Marines and flying for the Marines. And he said, at that time, I had my graduate degree. I'd just gotten it. And he was very eager to recruit me. He said, "Oh, yeah, we'll get you a pilot slot." I went home and thought about it. And I have a master's in public administration. And recruiters, if you know anything about recruiters, they will tell you that you can own the sky with them. You can do whatever you want to do. And I got to thinking, he's going to put me on a desk job or push me in that direction. I'll never touch the controls of an airplane. And I'll have to go through Marine boot camp and all the things the Marines have to endure and go through. And so I turned that offer down, but I had always had a desire to fly. I'd heard about a ministry called Mission Aviation Fellowship, which have pilots all over the world. And be a pilot in Mission Aviation Fellowship, you've got to be a mechanic because you have to take care of your airplane if you're out in the boonies in Africa. And so it's a long process. And I didn't think that at that time I was starting to have a family, and I didn't feel like I could afford to go through that process and be away from people.
That is a very interesting story and interesting life you've had, and you found quite the balance between the work that you do, which you love, as you say. You must be very good at it. There's a need for what you do, and you're obviously rewarded for it. That's our ikigai, your idea. And secondly, you've had this other passion about doing something beyond yourself, going beyond what's this idea of being able to give back in some way to be able to support. Just as a kind of some closing thoughts, I'm just wondering, for those owners who are at that stage where they're thinking that life after the business is going to be important period of time for them to make a meaningful difference. How would they go about figuring out what that is?
Oh, that's without knowing, the individuals and where they are in their business role. They need to become involved with volunteer work. I think most of the owners that I know that have gone in retirement and been happy in retirement are men and women who have volunteered their services beyond just their business. Volunteer work, I think, is probably one of the best ways to shift from owning a business or running a business into uh, life beyond the business, because there's always something to go to. Yeah, I think being involved with volunteer work, whether that's with the church or with some community organization, is very important because it gives you an outlet for your talents. My talent as a pilot was used both in the Civil Air Patrol, flying wounded warriors, veterans. The Veterans Airlift Command flies men who have been wounded or have issues mentally and can't deal with being on a commercial aircraft. We pick them up, and we take them wherever they need to go. It's a very important work. It's not a ministry. It's a volunteer organization of pilots that have planes and are able to take off and fly. And a lot of times it's business people because a lot of the trips are on weekdays, not on the weekend. So uh, something along those lines, using their talents, whatever they can contribute to the community is important. The other thing I was involved with was with the American Diabetes Association and the Tour de Coeur bicycle ride. I love riding bicycles. I ride on the road. I've done trips as long as 75 miles in one setting, and so I love to do road bike on my bike. And so therefore I got involved with the ADA and the Tour de Coeur, and I became executive director for one of the rides here in San Antonio. We had over 900 riders in that ride. It was a blast. It's a lot of fun. So you don't have to fly airplanes. Whatever your talent is, if you can contribute that to the community, I think that gives an outlet after the business.
That's wonderful. And it sounds like for you, it's keep moving.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Well, Pat, would you just
Yeah,
like to
so
wrap it up then?
Joe, I think we would agree that David is set up for a successful next act.
Yeah.
He's already got it structured. He's already doing it, and he's easily going to replace or just continue the purpose, meaning, and
Right.
significance to life after he actually leaves his business, if he ever does.
If he ever does, if he ever does,
I mean,
and he's tied what he loves and what he's good at to that
yeah,
as
I
well.
think that's one of the key things is for listeners. There's a few things. I mean, he said that I think will be helpful to listeners. That he loved airplanes, he loves bikes, and both of those things ended up with him serving in uh, ministry or social causes that have purpose and meaning. And he one of the things that he did that I think is very helpful for owners to do, he took some extended vacations and and just monitored his mindset, if
His
you will,
contentment. Yeah.
during those extended vacations and learn, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, this is nice, but I need some. And his wife was telling him he'd go nuts if he didn't have meaningful things to do. And that was after being in a camper with him for a couple of weeks. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's helpful information.
Yeah.
The point about getting involved in things bigger than himself and beyond
Right.
himself, service to
Huge.
others with his gifts and his talents. I
Right.
think that's a
And
key piece.
there's a need where there's a need, right? And
Yeah, right, right. So I think there's a lot of things that listeners can take from David, you and how well prepared Joe and I think you are for the next act, based on what we know and what we've observed. So thank you again for joining us today. We're very grateful. Sorry about the connection. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do all the editing that we can do to make this good, because it's been a great conversation. Is there anything if someone listening wanted to contact you and just talk to you, would you be willing to have
Oh
them
yeah,
do? And
absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
and how could they reach you if they wanted to talk to you?
My email address, of course, send an email or text to my mobile phone, um, and uh, or um, just call my office here. All three of those, I would be
And is
available.
all of that on LinkedIn? If they go to your LinkedIn
It should
profile?
be. It should be there. Um,
Okay.
yeah. And we've got your contact, so we can share that in the notes.
Yeah,
okay.
that's right. If someone wants to reach you, they can contact us and we can provide that information for them.
Sure.
Is
Yeah.
there anything that you'd like to? We always ask our guests if there's anything they'd like to promote before we wrap up.
Well, the Skycross Ministry is one, and there is a website for Skycross. It's just simple, skycross.org,
Mm-hmm.
and we always could use contributions towards that. That's why I would, if they wanted to contribute to that ministry, it's Luckily, we have a very large trust that we've been accumulating money in over the years that will help perpetuate the ministry regardless of what our donor pool is shrinking because a lot of the donors are getting old and they're no longer owning a business or employed, and finding new donors is not easy in this economy. So any help we can get there, I would appreciate.
Okay.
Nice.
Skycross Ministries.
Skytross.org. Yeah.
Okay. Skycross.org. Well, David, thanks again for joining us. It's been a pleasure meeting you and talking to you and hearing. And you've provided some, we think, some very helpful information to listeners today. Uh, and listeners, if you want help maximizing the value of your business, the sellability, the transferability, planning for that next act after the business, or anything having to do with your eventual exit, you can reach us through our website, ExitReadiness.com or NSLP.com. Either one works. And if you've benefited from today's episode, please consider liking and sharing it on social media. Thank you for listening. And until next time on the Exit Readiness Podcast, this is Pat Ennis with Joe Markovich signing off.